Revealed, the billionaire father's incredible ultimatum changed his Playboy son's life forever. Max Thompson had it all: fast cars, endless parties, and a lifestyle most could only dream of. But amid the glimmering lights of Los Angeles, something always felt off. His father, Charles Thompson, a self-made billionaire, had transformed a simple garage project into a tech empire, but their connection dwindled in the shadows of success. Max rode the wave of privilege, but it was beginning to feel like an empty thrill. When his father's health took a devastating turn, everything came crashing down. "Max," Charles said, his voice trembling. "You need to choose: commit to the family business and prove you deserve this life, or lose it all." The gravity of his father's ultimatum hit Max like a freight train. Was this really what it had come to? The heart of the billionaire empire he'd been born into now hung in the balance. Fear gripped him, memories of family dinners swallowed by silence clawed at his conscience. He was a playboy in a gilded cage. Rich but adrift. As he wrestled with the ultimatum, a flicker of nostalgia guided him back to that small community diner where he once shared a plate of fries with childhood friends, a world away from his luxury. The memories flooded back: laughter, carefree times, the love he once took for granted. The allure of Los Angeles faded as he chose to reconnect with the values he'd neglected. When he arrived at that modest diner, the scent of greasy spoons mixed with fresh coffee made him feel grounded, alive. He saw the employees hustling, their faces painted with determination. This wasn't the superficial life he was used to; these were people fighting for their families, each with stories of their own. And then, his eyes found hers. Emily. His childhood friend, now juggling 2 jobs to support her family. Her laughter sparkled amidst the clanging of plates, and for a moment, Max forgot about the weight of his family's name. She still radiated a warmth that reminded him of simpler times. Yet her gaze turned serious as she took in the man he had become. Instead of admiration, there was a tinge of disappointment in her eyes, a judgment he felt deep in his chest. As their conversation unfolded, Max felt the ever-growing tension of who he was and who he wanted to be. Just as he began fully embracing this perspective, a family secret shattered his calm. Dark truths emerged, revealing painful sacrifices Charles made to build the empire, the betrayals woven into the fabric of the Thompson legacy. The juxtaposition of his party boy image and the unrelenting reality of the family business created a storm inside him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Max now stood at a crossroads. One path led back to a cushy existence, cloaked in luxury, while the other demanded authenticity, hard work, and the relationships he long neglected. Could he reconcile the truth about who his father was, with the man he aspired to be? The choice weighed heavy on him. Just as he felt a flicker of hope, a twist of fate erupted, signaling a change that could seal his destiny in ways he never imagined. Would love, redemption, and integrity win over betrayal? The answer lingered in the air, just out of reach. Max felt the corners of his mind tightening as he stepped out of the diner, each footfall echoing the chaos swirling within him. The laughter and bustle faded, replaced by the relentless hum of the Los Angeles streets. Cars zoomed by, oblivious to his inner turmoil. He could almost hear the ticking clock of his father's ultimatum resounding in his ears. He shoved his hands into his pockets, grappling with the weight of his decision. Would he continue living the carefree lifestyle that once brought him so much joy, or step up and confront the legacy that loomed over him like a storm? The thought of facing Charles filled him with dread, the last conversation between them still raw. Max had long been the golden boy, a trophy son basking in the glow of his father's successes. But deep down, he was questioning everything. As he wandered, he found himself standing at the edge of the Santa Monica Pier. The crashing waves mirrored his thoughts, each wave a playful memory crashing into the stark reality he had to face. He leaned against the railing, the salty air biting at his skin, mingling with traces of nostalgia. He could see families laughing, couples holding hands, children running freely. They were alive. Living. Then, amidst that vibrant scene, he spotted a familiar face, a figure from his past. Jake, a childhood friend, was bent over, sketching the bustling people on the pier. A pang of memory hit Max with full force. Jake had always been the artist, the dreamer. Approaching him, Max felt an urgency, an unexplainable need to connect with someone who once knew him before wealth clouded his vision. Jake. He called, a part of him surprised at the enthusiasm in his voice. Jake looked up, an expression of genuine joy lighting up his face as their eyes met. Max. Wow, it's been ages. How've you been? Jake's voice was warm and inviting, a stark contrast to the feelings of disapproval he had faced earlier with Emily. I've been better, Max admitted, leaning against the railing beside Jake. Considering how things have been for you, I can imagine, Jake said, his tone softening. You've got a lot on your plate, huh? Yeah, something like that, Max replied, staring out at the ocean. But it's more than that. I feel lost, man. Like I'm stuck between who I've been told to be and who I really am. Jake studied him, searching for a deeper truth beneath the glitzy facade. You ever think about going back? I mean, not just physically, but mentally. To find out who Max really is. It's not too late. Max's heart raced at the idea. But what if I choose wrong? What if my father is right about the business? Or what if your heart is right? Jake paused, letting the words settle. You owe it to yourself, Max. You deserve to explore what brings you real fulfillment. Just then, a group of children ran past, giggling and screaming in delight. Max watched them, their raw joy a stark contrast to his own tangled emotions. What would it take for him to find that kind of happiness again? And there it was, the tender flicker of something powerful. Hope, maybe. Or maybe it was a whisper of resolve starting to take shape. As he slowly realized that his next steps could define him far more than the millions in his bank account ever could, his heart beat faster. Maybe I should do it, he whispered, almost to himself. Maybe I can find a way to merge both worlds. Then let us do it. Jake encouraged, suddenly animated. Let us explore, let us rediscover you, man. You're not alone in this. Max nodded, feeling a fire building within. The challenge ahead suddenly seemed less daunting. Yeah, let us do it. Little did Max know, this new journey would unravel truths and unveil choices that would push the boundaries of his understanding, testing him in ways he couldn't yet imagine. With his heart set on reconnecting with his roots, the waves roared below, almost as if encouraging him. But just then, a text message lit up his phone. As he glanced down, his heart sank at the sender's name, his father. What awaited him now could change everything. Max, we need to talk, the ominous words stared back at him, and he could feel the familiar weight of his father's ultimatum settling back into his gut. Max's heart raced as the reality of his father's text sank in. The glowing screen felt heavy in his hand. He glanced back at Jake, who was still watching him with a mixture of concern and excitement. Everything okay? Jake asked, sensing the shift in Max's mood. Yeah, just my dad, Max mumbled, not sure how to explain the weight behind those words. You know how he can be. Jake nodded knowingly, but the tension in Max's chest tightened. His father's expectations had always loomed large, casting a long shadow over his life like a persistent fog. The ultimatum wasn't, he knew it was a familiar theme in their relationship. But this time felt different. This time, Max was standing on the precipice of a choice he had never dared to face. Do you want to, I don't know, escape this? Jake suggested, his voice lighter now, an attempt to bridge the gap of anxiety. Let us step away from all this for a moment. Max shook his head. It's not that easy. The longer I delay, the less time I'll have to figure things out what I want. Then face him. Talk to him, Jake urged. You've got a game plan now, right? This is your moment. As the gentle waves continued to crash rhythmically against the pier, they mirrored the conflict within Max. He thought of his father's achievements, the world they built together, the comfort it brought. But what if comfort masked his true desires? What if wealth and success crowded out his happiness? Okay, I'll do it. I'll call him, Max said, determination rising within him, but apprehension still clung tightly. I need to hear what he has to say, and maybe stand my ground this time. Jake smiled, always the optimist. That's the spirit. Just remember, you get to decide who you want to be. Not him. Max took a deep breath, steeling himself. Pulling out his phone, he hesitated for just a moment. The familiarity of this dance echoed in his mind the endless arguments, the disappointment, the longing for approval. But it was time for change, for a conversation that might break free from the cycle. He dialed. The ringing seemed to amplify his racing thoughts. When his father finally picked up, it felt like stepping onto a battlefield. Max. Charles' voice was gruff, but there was an edge of expectation in it. I'm glad you called. Dad, I got your text. We need to talk, Max replied, his voice steadier than he felt. About the business? Charles wasted no time, always about business. Yes, but also about us. I've been thinking a lot about what I want, he said, pushing away the fear smothering him. There was an uncomfortable silence on the other end. Max imagined his father's brow furrowing into that familiar expression of annoyance, as if he was preparing to launch into a lecture. I'll have you know, Charles finally replied, that we have goals, expectations, and a legacy to uphold. Dad, I understand that, Max said, feeling the anger boil slightly. But it can't be the only thing. You have no idea what's at stake. You want to play the artist? Go ahead, but know this: it will cost you. Cost him. The words weighed heavy in his mind. What did that even mean? Would he lose the security he'd always known? The life everyone admired? Sometimes it costs more to stay in a life that's not meant for you, Max shot back, the words flowing before he even had time to censor them. His heart thundered in his chest. Excuse me? Charles's voice raised a notch. You think you can just know? I want to be real. I want to do something that truly matters to me, not just to you. And in that moment, something shifted. The piercing truth of his own desires surged to the surface, a wave crashing down that could not be ignored. What if I choose wrong? Max whispered, almost to himself, laden with anxiety yet filled with a strange, newfound determination. His father was silent, a pause that stretched endlessly, resonating with the weight of their conversation. Before Charles could respond, Max's heart raced at the unforeseen tension hanging between them. The fear, the resolve all mixed into one storm of emotion. Would this call bring release, or tie him tighter to the life he wanted to escape? As the silence stretched, Max realized that this moment could carve the path ahead. But just then, the line crackled with static. Max, listen, what was going to come next might reshape their entire relationship, and it was out of his hands now. Steeling himself, he wondered, was he ready for the truth that lay in wait? Max's breath hitched. There was a weight to his father's voice that felt heavy, like thunder rumbling in the distance, promising a storm. He could almost imagine Charles on the other end of the line, pacing, trying to gather some semblance of control over the chaos he likely felt at Max's words. Max, listen carefully. I didn't raise you to make reckless choices, Charles began, voice tense. I've worked my entire life to build our family's legacy. You can't just throw it away for a whim. A whim? Max's pulse quickened, anger surging in him. It's not a whim, Dad. I've spent too long trying to fit into a mold that doesn't even feel like me. There's more to life than just money and power. The silence that followed was even more deafening than before. Max could almost hear his father's mind working, grasping for words, trying to process this unexpected rebellion. It was terrifying but freeing too. Are you really willing to give up everything? The business, the connections, the future I've planned for you? Charles's voice finally broke through, tension hanging thick in the air. What future? One where I'm miserable pretending to be someone I'm not. You think I haven't seen how this affects you? How it ruined your happiness? The truth struck harder than he expected. Don't bring me into this, his father snapped back, but the edge in his voice suggested a crack in the armor, a chink of vulnerability. This is about you, not me. Exactly. It's always been about you. But I'm the one living this life. I have to live with these choices. I need to know if I can carve my own path. Max could feel the knot in his stomach twist tighter. He was terrified but ready to dive deeper. The line crackled again, but this time it seemed less like static and more like a retreat before a coming storm. Your grandfather worked his fingers to the bone. You think it was easy for him? Or for me? There are expectations that the world expects from us, Charles pressed. And whose world, Dad? Max questioned, his voice rising. Not mine. Not anyone else's but yours. I want to create, to express, to live. There it was again. A long silence stretched between them, but the anger that once fueled it slowly shifted to something else. Was it realization? Regret? Max wasn't sure. The tension was still there, but beneath it lay a vulnerability he hadn't anticipated. Max, Charles's voice softened just the slightest bit. Have you ever considered what this could cost you? Everything has a cost. Max's voice shook now, conflicting emotion washing over him. Sometimes it costs more to lose yourself. Fine. A murmur of defeat slipped through. If that is the path you're choosing. The words hung heavily, like the moment before a thunderclap, and Max felt his heart race. Was he really prepared for this? Was it possible for Charles to understand? I just want a chance. I'll give you 2 months. His father's voice cut through sharply, cold and decisive. If you can show me you have what it takes to pursue that passion of yours and still keep up with your responsibilities, I'll support you. But if you don't, you'll need to come back. No more running. The ultimatum struck him like a lightning bolt, illuminating the dark shadows of doubt. 2 months. 2 months, Charles affirmed, his tone asserting finality but layered with an uncharacteristic hint of uncertainty. You have to make something of this. Prove it, or you're back in the family business. Max felt like he was teetering on a knife's edge. That ultimatum echoed like a challenge, a test of everything he had ever dreamed. The thought of having to prove himself sent a rush of adrenaline through his veins. Okay, Dad. I'll show you I can do this. With that, Max hung up the phone, feeling both exhilarated and terrified. He had a foothold, a chance. But it came with a clock ticking down, and with the pressure turned up, he knew the stakes could define more than just this moment. As he looked at Jake, who had been waiting silently, eyes wide with anticipation, Max realized this was only the beginning of a battle he had never wanted but now had to face. What's next? Jake asked, a determined nod in his direction. Max swallowed hard. Now, I've got to figure out what it means to truly follow my passion and survive the consequences. He could already feel the turning gears of doubt and hope wrestling within him. What would he create in this limited time? Would he finally find the courage to break free? In that moment, everything felt heavy with potential. Would he rise to the occasion, or would he fall back into the mold that had been cast for him? Let's get to work, Max said, ready to dive headfirst into the storm he had just unleashed, unaware of the upheaval it might bring. How could he turn fear into fuel, and would that fuel lead him to the life he truly desired? Max paced back and forth in Jake's cramped apartment, his mind racing. The air was thick with the weight of the ultimatum, unsettling and exhilarating all at once. He had 2 months 60 days to prove he could turn a passion into something tangible, something worthy of his father's approval. The reality of that hit him like cold water. He needed a plan. First things first, Max said, trying to shake off the nervous energy buzzing in his veins. I need to figure out what I want to create. Jake leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. You've got ideas, right? What do you love? What gets you excited? The question hung in the air, challenging and mocking all at once. Max had always loved photography, capturing fleeting moments that spoke louder than words. He could still see it the way light flickered through branches, illuminating city streets at dawn, or how laughter danced between friends at sunset. Yet, could he make a living with just a camera? I guess I want to tell stories, he finally admitted. Through pictures. Maybe I could focus on the city, people, moments that matter. That's it. You've got something. Jake's excitement was palpable, his enthusiasm spilling over. You just need to showcase your work, get it out there. Maybe start a project that's more than just photos. Something people would connect with. As the ideas began to form, a fire ignited inside Max. You mean like a series? A photo essay on the raw beauty of everyday life? He suggested, envisioning the people he could feature, their struggles and triumphs. Exactly. Jake's eyes sparkled. You capture that, and we can pitch it maybe even to some online platforms or galleries. You put yourself out there. Max nodded slowly, the pieces coming together. But I'll need gear, a proper setup, and something to show for it. God, this is a lot. We'll figure it out, Jake said, firm. You can start small. Use whatever you've got. Just start snapping. As they brainstormed over takeout, ideas transformed into plans. Max felt alive, like a conductor leading an orchestra, bathed in potential energy. But shadows lingered nearby. Doubt crept in as well. What if this flopped? What if Charles was right? Let's grab a few more bustling spots around town, Jake suggested, breaking him from his spiraling thoughts. We can start shooting tomorrow at sunrise. Capture the city waking up. Share a piece of that beauty. A smile cracked Max's anxious facade. Yeah, I think I can do that. That night, as he lay in bed, sleep refused to come. Max stared at the ceiling, lost in thought. Would his father understand? Would he appreciate what Max hoped to achieve? This wasn't just about proving a point, it was about finding his voice. But still, fear loomed large in the corners of his mind. What if all of this was futile? Morning light spilled through the window, shattering his doubts momentarily as he prepared for the shoot. Standing in front of the mirror, he practiced his ideas, whispering words of affirmation to himself. But the gnawing feeling remained. Deep down, he was worried that 2 months wasn't enough for a transformation. The next hours passed in a flurry of excitement and nerves as they hit the streets. They took pictures of everything: the mesmerizing dance of ethnic markets, the vibrant murals that graced crumbling buildings, the everyday heroes that weaved their stories into the urban fabric. With every click of the shutter, he could feel it, a sense of freedom. Each image was a piece of his heart, a step away from the life he had always known. But was it enough? They wound their way through the bustling streets, laughter echoing between them, amplifying Max's fevered dream of success. Each moment was a canvas, but he still felt the weight of expectation pressing down on him. By the end of the day, soaked in sweat and exhilaration, he looked at Jake, who was covered in leftover coffee stains. What do you think? Jake stared at the photos on Max's camera. This is just the start, man. It's raw and real. You've captured something special here. Max felt a flicker of hope. You really think so? Absolutely. But remember, you've got to keep pushing. This is just the beginning. Max nodded, determination settling like a heavy stone in his gut. But with every ounce of hope came a new question: was he truly ready to put himself out there, to risk all he had? As they stood amid the kaleidoscope of colors, the city breathing life around them, Max felt the storm he had unleashed rustle in the air. He had made a choice, a decision that might change everything. But could he truly sustain this momentum? The challenge lingered ahead of him, and the thought of next steps filled him with uncertainty. Would he be able to maintain this growth, or would the weight of expectations drag him back down? The journey was just beginning, and Max realized he might have to confront fears he had long pushed aside. "Tomorrow, we go again," he said, his voice steadier now. "Let us push it further." Jake grinned. "Let us do it." "But, Max. Just remember, it's okay to stumble along the way. Just don't stop moving." With those words, Max felt an unfamiliar sense of calm wash over him. The path ahead was murky, but for the first time, he felt brave enough to walk it, armed with a passion that dared to challenge all he'd ever known. But as the city lights began to twinkle against the darkening sky, he couldn't shake a lingering thought: would passion alone be enough to achieve the impossible? Max woke to the soft glow of dawn spilling through his window. He could still feel the warmth of yesterday's energy swirling within him, but the weight of the challenge ahead settled heavier than ever. As he got dressed, each piece of clothing felt like armor being donned for battle. Today could either solidify his path or crush it under the weight of doubt. In the small kitchen, Jake was already brewing coffee, the rich aroma filling the air and awakening Max further. "Ready for round 2?" Jake asked, a teasing grin brightening his face. "Ready as I'll ever be," Max replied, his heart racing. Last night's excitement transformed into quiet trepidation as the reality of putting his work out into the world loomed closer. Would anyone actually connect with it, or worse dismiss his vision entirely? Their morning routine was punctuated by a comfortable silence, the kind that only true friends could share. They both knew the stakes, yet there was an unspoken bond of support anchoring them. They hit the ground running. The city was a different creature in the morning light, each block pulsating with life. The streets filled with people hustling to their destinations, while the lingering coolness of the night faded. Max felt alive, the rhythm of the city blending perfectly with his racing heartbeat. Their first stop was a local bakery. Through the window, he could see a baker kneading dough, his hands skillfully folding and stretching the soft mass. Max quickly raised his camera, capturing the raw passion infused in every movement. It was a moment of honesty, a glimpse into the man's dedication. "Love it," Jake said, peering over Max's shoulder. "That just tells a story all on its own." As they moved through the streets, Max discovered beauty everywhere: the elderly man feeding birds in the park, children giggling as they raced each other on the sidewalk, a group of artists bringing a mural to life. Each click of the shutter felt like a heartbeat, a pulse connecting him to the very essence of life around him. But amidst this happiness, a storm brewed in the back of his mind. What if it wasn't enough? He could see the faces of his father's disappointment reflected in every shadowy corner of the city. How could he measure success without the approval he craved? "Hey, what's up?" Jake interrupted his spiraling thoughts. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking about the future," Max admitted. "What if I fail? What if none of this is good enough?" Jake's face softened. "Listen, nobody creates magic overnight. You've got to embrace the process, the messy parts of it. You're going to stumble, but it won't shape your worth." Max nodded slowly, feeling the weight of Jake's words. It was easy to get lost in fear, but was it worth dismissing the beauty he'd captured just because of what-ifs? He took a deep breath and turned his focus back to the world around him. As the sun climbed higher, casting golden light across the city, they stumbled upon a street festival. Vibrant colors danced in the air, laughter intertwined with the music spilling from nearby stalls. Max felt a surge of inspiration. He raised his camera and began to shoot, capturing the joy and community like a painter with a vibrant palette. Each moment held a story, each individual a thread in the larger tapestry of the city. For the first time, Max felt he was stepping into the very life he wanted to create, the art he wished to present to the world. The feedback from passers-by was instantaneous, smiles and nods accompanied every click of the shutter. Max almost felt invincible, lifting his hopes higher with each shot. As they ventured deeper into the festival, something unexpected happened. A woman approached Max, her eyes glimmering with recognition. "I saw you capturing images. Can I see?" He hesitated, his heart clenching. What if she didn't like what she saw? But something in her smile broke through his doubt. He handed her the camera. She scrolled through the images, her expression shifting from curiosity to admiration. "Wow! These are stunning. You really know how to tap into the soul of this city." Max's heart raced. Her words were like fuel, igniting a flame of courage within him. Maybe he could do this. "Maybe Max, let us keep moving." Jake's voice broke through, anchoring him back to the present. As the festival faded into the background, Max dared to let the idea of potential success ring within him. With every step, he felt more alive. But just as the exhilaration swelled inside him, an uncomfortable question gnawed in his mind: what if today was just a fluke? That doubt loomed like a shadow again, and he realized, the challenge wasn't only about proving himself to his father but also overcoming the fears that lingered like ghosts from his past. "I want to keep going, but we need to talk about the next steps," he said suddenly, needing Jake's grounding influence. "Absolutely, let us map this out tonight," Jake replied. "We'll find a way to get your work seen, I promise." With renewed determination, Max continued capturing moments. But inside, he was asking himself, what if facing his father's expectations was only the beginning of an even bigger journey? As dusk began to fall, cloaking the city in shadows, Max couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was just around the corner. Would he have the courage to face whatever was coming next? The festival was winding down, the laughter fading into the soft evening air. Max's camera clicked less frequently now, but the images woven in his mind buzzed like fireflies. Each snapshot was a reminder of the day, a motivation to press forward despite the shadows lurking just beyond his excitement. Jake slid onto a nearby bench, waving his hand, summoning Max to sit with him. "You've got to relax. You've captured some incredible moments. It's a start, man." Max took a seat, the weight of the earlier doubts creeping back in. But what if it's not enough? That woman was great, but what if everyone else sees it and thinks just another guy with a camera? "I don't want to do this to just go through the motions. I want real growth." Jake rolled his eyes, but the smile on his face softened the gesture. "You think all those great photographers didn't have moments where they questioned if they were good enough? It's what you do after the doubts that count." The sun dipped lower, smearing colors across the sky, blues blending into purples and streaks of gold. For a moment, Max felt that beauty seep into him, shadowing his worries. "Tonight, let us work on a plan. We can look at the images you've got, develop a message together, something that speaks to people. Your father might not get it right away, but if it's real, he will eventually." Max's heart clenched at the mention of his father. The man who always seemed so far away, despite being right there. What if he never sees it? What if it's just not good enough for him? "I've spent my life trying. What if I fail to do that one thing right?" "He's one person," Jake said, tapping Max's knee. "You can't let that determine your value. This isn't just about him. It's about you. You've got stories and visions that are waiting to be told. This is your chance to break free." Max looked up at Jake, searching for the belief he often needed but found only in rare moments. "And what if I fall flat? What if nobody cares?" "Then you try again. You're not required to knock it out of the park on the first go, buddy. Remember what I said yesterday? Embrace the process." As they sat in silence, the sounds of the festival faded, replaced by the hum of the city routine. An artist packing up his easels, joyous voices mingling as people departed, the far-off wail of sirens wrapping it all up in the urban soundscape. Max caught glimpses of his earlier shots in his mind, the baker with his dough, the children's laughter, the woman's spark of recognition. Those moments felt like promises now, whispers of his dreams blending into vivid memories. Maybe it wasn't he about proving anything to anyone after all. I guess you're right, he finally admitted. It's just scary. What if I put everything into this and it feels empty? Jake chuckled, a lightness easing the gravity of the conversation. The beauty in creation is that even if it feels empty today, you're filling it up each day with your own growth. Plus, who knows? You might surprise yourself. Suddenly, something bright caught Max's eye, a flash of color across the square. He looked up to see a couple dancing, silhouetted against the setting sun. They twirled effortlessly, laughter spilling between them like music. In that moment, a flame ignited deep in his chest, one that pulsed with ideas and inspiration. Do you see that? He blurted out, pointing to the couple. That's a picture. The joy, the abandon they're just living. Now that's the energy I'm talking about. Jake leaned forward, his enthusiasm contagious. Capture it. Don't overthink. Just shoot from the heart. Breathless with renewed focus, Max raised his camera, feeling the familiar connection surge again. Click. Click. Each shot revealing not just a moment, but a piece of himself unfolding. The doubts faded, replaced by a certainty he hadn't felt all day. An echoing cheer rose from the edges of the festival, announcing a surprise performance. Excited whispers collided with the strumming of guitars. Max knew he couldn't resist. He scanned the crowd, ready to capture every spark, every nuance. But as he stepped closer, ready to immerse himself in creativity, a familiar figure caught his eye, his father, standing with crossed arms at the entrance of the festival. The stone-cold expression on his face felt like a punch to the gut. Max froze, the camera still poised in his hand. What was he doing here? And more importantly, how could he face his father now, when everything felt so delicate and new? The moment held a weight that pressed against Max's chest. Would the fear of his father change everything he had just built today? Feeling the world around him blur, he couldn't move, caught between the joy of creation and the suffocating expectations of familial obligation. Max? Jake's voice cut through the chaos. What's wrong? Jake. I think this might change everything. And as the inevitable confrontation loomed nearer, Max found himself wondering if his journey was truly about to begin or if it was all about to come crashing down. Max's heart raced as he locked eyes with his father. The world melted away, and all he could focus on was the rigid posture and the disapproving glare that seemed to cut through the vibrant atmosphere around him. Was he really here to witness Max's moment of discovery, or was he just going to add to the tension that had long defined their relationship? Max? Jake's voice brought him back, but the urgency in his tone brought a new wave of apprehension. You okay? No, Max whispered, his voice barely escaping his lips, feeling trapped in an invisible cage built from expectation and disappointment. It had always been there, the weight of his father's gaze, but tonight it felt heavier than ever. His father stepped forward, the crowd of festival-goers drifting around him like leaves in the wind. With each step, Max's pulse quickened. Did he come to criticize? To tear down, as he always had? Or was there a chance, however slim, that he might somehow understand? Dad. Max found his voice, shaky but clear. I didn't expect to see you here. His father seemed unmoved, arms still crossed like a barricade. So, this is what you've chosen? He pressed, his tone cool. A festival? Taking photos like some aspiring artist? The word struck Max like a slap. It was a dismissal he had feared, yet something broke inside him in response. It's not just a festival to me, Dad. It's more than that. The camera shook slightly in his grip, a grounding presence for the storm building within him. I'm trying to find something real. Not just follow a script you've written for me. The confession hung in the air, heavy and raw. For a brief moment, the crowd's laughter faded, leaving just the two of them in a bubble of tension. Jake's concerned eyes flitted between father and son, sensing the fracture growing wider. Real? His father scoffed, stepping closer. You're doing this for validation. To impress people who probably don't care less. You think they'll remember your pictures in a week? They matter to me. Max shot back, the unexpected courage fueling his words. These moments matter. It's about capturing life as it is, those fleeting seconds no one sees. I need to express it. His father paused, eyebrows furrowing slightly in confusion. Max seized the chance, heart pounding in his chest. I can't keep pretending to want what you want. I need to find my own way. The silence stretched between them, an uncomfortable chasm filled with unspoken expectations and misunderstood dreams. A breeze stirred, rustling the leaves overhead, giving a feeling of stillness, as if the world was waiting for an answer. What if I told you that you don't have what it takes? His father finally said, his voice deliberately neutral, but deep down, it shot through Max with a wave of dread. I'm not doing this for you, Max replied, conviction rising again. If I fall, I'll get back up. If it's all wrong, then it's my mistake to own. But I want to try. His father's demeanor shifted slightly. The hardness in his eyes softened for just a breath, then returned as he turned away. Don't think you can just waltz into this world and expect it to work out. There are rules. Distractions will lead you nowhere, he said, walking back toward the exit. Dad, wait, Max called after him, desperation clawing at his throat. But he didn't look back. He stepped into the crowd and vanished. Max stood there, heart in his throat. The thrill that danced within him moments ago was lost. Instead, emptiness settled in, a reminder of the walls that still stood between them, the communication that never seemed to break through. Jake's hand fell on Max's shoulder. You did good, man, he said softly, you spoke your truth. Max nodded, but uncertainty loomed like a storm cloud. Did he say enough? Would his father ever understand him? And more hauntingly, did he even care to try? As the performance began, a singer capturing hearts with every note, the festival lights blinked on, illuminating faces filled with joy. Max turned his camera towards the stage, but the happiness around him felt distant. He wanted to dive into photography. To embrace that thrill he'd felt earlier, yet a part of him remained anchored, unable to fully embrace the moment. What did this mean for his passion? His identity? Was there a world waiting for him beyond his father's shadow? Feeling the stir of emotions clashing within, he pondered aloud to Jake, what if this is just the beginning of a greater battle? Jake still stood beside him, a steady presence. Then let us face it together. Whatever it takes, you're not alone, all right? As the night settled into vibrancy, Max thought about the dance they had shared, the moments he'd captured, and the passion igniting within. But just as the music soared, the doubts roiled, swirling questions waiting to be confronted. What new challenges awaited him in seeking approval, in truly finding himself? With his father retreating, Max felt the impending storm brewing in his heart. Max? Jake nudged him, pulling him from his thoughts. What now? You ready to dive deeper into this? Max tightened his grip on the camera, feeling its weight buoyed with possibility. He was scared, yet a spark ignited. Let us keep shooting. There's more to capture, and maybe I need to capture the heart of what I really want to show. With that flicker of determination, his eyes drifted back to the swirling crowd, ready to face his fears and the untold stories that lay ahead. But still lingering was the question, would he find the courage to face not only the world through his lens but also the father from whom he sought validation? The music floated around Max like a comforting embrace as he squeezed the camera and stepped forward. With every click of the shutter, the world outside faded away, but the ache in his chest remained. Each frame he captured felt like a small victory, a declaration against the weight of his father's dismissal. A woman laughed, her head thrown back, illuminating the joy he sought through his art. "See that?" Jake pointed toward the stage, his excitement palpable. "You can feel the energy. That's it, man. Capture that." Max nodded but felt a flicker of doubt. Was it enough? A festival was a canvas painted with vibrant emotions, but would those emotions be lost on the people who truly mattered? He trained his lens on the singer, whose voice soared above the crowd, each note a fleeting moment hanging in the air. He clicked again, but the joy behind the lens was peppered with frustration about the battle yet to unfold. "Max?" Jake interrupted his thoughts, a hint of concern underpinning his enthusiasm. "You've got to let this go for a minute. What's your story beyond the camera? What's weighing on you?" Jake's question stirred something in Max. He hesitated, fiddling with the camera strap hanging from his neck. How could he explain? How could he share this internal struggle when everything felt so jumbled? I want to prove myself, not just to him but to me." "Is that selfish?" "No, man." Jake rolled his eyes, a smile breaking through. "You're figuring out who you are. That's what life is about. Your art is your voice. If it resonates with you, that's the only thing that matters." Those words sat heavy in the air, challenging the walls Max had built around himself. But as he watched the crowd, he saw many faces filled with bliss and emotion he wanted to fully align himself with. It was hard when the thoughts of his father's disapproval gripped him like an iron chain. The melody shifted, vibrant yet haunting, and carried a change in energy. Encouraged by Jake's presence, Max took a deep breath. He had to let this moment transform him, flourish amidst the chaos. Maybe tonight wouldn't just be a fleeting experience, it could be the start of something genuine. "All right," Max said, his heart racing as he adjusted the settings on his camera. "Let's try something different." He began to move through the crowd, snapping pictures not just of the performer but of the life unfolding around him. Kids dancing, couples sharing whispered secrets, friends laughing, and souls connecting, all brought alive through his lens. Each click felt like a burst of catharsis, a release of pent-up emotions and fear he had been holding on to for too long. With each joyful image captured, he felt a little more unshackled from his father's shadow. After capturing a beautiful candid of a couple swaying to the music, Max turned to Jake, eyes alive with excitement. "It's happening," he exclaimed. "I can feel it. I'm not just shooting pictures, I'm telling stories." "Yeah, man. See? That's what I mean. You're in it now. This is your moment." But just as Max felt buoyed by his newfound liberation, a voice broke through the festival buzz, cold and sharp. "Max! There you are." His heart sank at the familiar tone. It was his father, standing on the edge of the crowd, expression unreadable. Behind him loomed an intimidating figure, a business associate, no doubt, and the familiar stir of anxiety choked Max's excitement. "Dad," Max began, uncertainty flooding back through him. "Let us talk." "Now," his father said, cutting through the joyous atmosphere with the force of a thunderclap. Max swallowed hard as all the excitement drained out of him. This wasn't the moment he envisioned, not with his father's authoritative tone stripping away his joy. He exchanged a glance with Jake, whose encouraging smile faltered. With a heavy heart, Max stepped toward his father, feeling the heat of expectation pressing against him again. Each step felt like a trek back through a maze he had been trying to escape. Was this his moment of truth? The one he had awaited, ready with his camera but short on the courage to stand firm. As the world around them pulsated with life, he wondered, would this meeting bring him clarity or just more confusion? Would his father finally see beyond the lens or remain stuck in the shadows of criticism? And just as he approached, the question lingered, could he muster the courage to redefine their relationship, or would he be swept back into the familiar tide of disapproval? Max's heart raced as he faced his father. The buzz of the festival faded into a murmur. Suddenly, the vibrant colors sparked around him dimmed, overshadowed by the looming presence of familial expectation. The euphoria he felt a moment ago felt like a distant memory, swallowed by the weight of what lay ahead. Max. Charles Thompson's voice cut through the laughter around them, thick with authority and something more concern, perhaps. This isn't where you should be wasting your time. Max took a deep breath, steadying himself against the rush of emotions swirling inside. Dad, this is important to me, he replied, his voice lower than he'd intended but full of determination. I want to capture life like this, to share stories that matter. I need you to understand that. Charles's brow furrowed, an armor forged over years of dealing with business pressures and expectations clouding his expression. Stories? You believe this festival is what represents success. You're the heir to an empire, Max. It doesn't come with 2 months of photos and a whimsical dream. I know what I am, and I know what you've built. But I need to show myself that there's more to life than what's on paper, Max pressed, the urgency growing in his chest. This is about finding my voice, aligning my ambition with what really drives me. As he spoke, he sensed the dwindling support of the festival fading into the background, but the fire within him surged. All those moments I've captured today, the laughter, the joy, the human connection, these matter. I want to create something meaningful outside of the empire, using my gifts to inspire others the way I've been inspired. For a moment, silence enveloped them. Max's breath quickened, his father's expression shifting. Was it apprehension? Disapproval? He couldn't tell. And then Charles spoke, his calm demeanor seemingly unwavering but the tension radiating from him palpable. You think I built this empire without sacrifice? Without knowing the truth of hard work and accountability? Dad, I'm not denying your sacrifice. Max attempted to bridge the chasm between them, desperation creeping in. But your world is different from mine. I may carry your last name, but I need my own identity. I need the space to make my own mistakes. Charles studied him, something flickering in his eyes, a hint of understanding. Perhaps a flicker of the father who had once nurtured him before expectations blurred their bond. And what if you fail? He asked finally, his tone softening just a fraction. I might, Max admitted, vulnerability creeping into his voice. But at least I won't be failing as someone I'm not. That feels worse than any potential misstep. I need to own my choices, not just uphold a legacy. With each word, he felt the emotional walls he'd always felt with his father beginning to crack. He longed for Charles to see him not the playboy parading in riches, but the man he yearned to become. There was a brief pause where neither spoke, the crowd bustling behind them, life stretching on in full swing, oblivious to this moment of confrontation and possibility. Finally, Charles took a step back, exhaling slowly as if releasing pent-up breaths that had been trapped for years. You really believe this is your calling? I do. I want to express what I've planned to spend years perfecting, not just tasks but fulfilling my creativity, my essence, Max said, hope tinged with uncertainty flooding his veins. With a gaze that lingered for a heartbeat longer than Max expected, Charles slowly nodded. Then show me, he said softly. Show me what you're capturing. Prove that what this means isn't just a whim. I'll support you, but it's up to you to go all in. Max blinked, confusion filtering through the conscious decision hanging between them. What do you mean? Show me what you're capable of, his father repeated, this time with more resolve. You've chosen your path. I'll let you explore, but I expect results. And if you want to be more than the heir, you'll have to make that known. Max swallowed his elation, feeling the tension gradually ease. 2 months, he asked, searching for clarity. You're saying I have that time? For this? Charles nodded. Yes, but remember, if you fall short, I will expect you to come back to the family business. No more distractions. Intense relief flooded Max as something deep inside shifted. He had a chance, tangible proof that moving away from his father's shadow didn't mean losing everything. As they stood there, the reality of a future started to form, hope woven through uncertainty. "Thank you, Dad," Max said softly, the sincerity wrapping around them like a promise. This was only the beginning, not just for him, but for Charles too. As the festival continued to pulse with life, illusion blended with reality, and the stories of their turbulent relationship began to rewrite themselves. In that moment, amid doubt and passion, he felt paradoxical hope blooming anew. "Now get back out there," his father said, relenting, the proud undertone breaking through the barriers. "Let us see what you've got." Max beamed as he turned back to Jake, who stood a few feet away, both pride and concern weaved into his expression. "You did it, man. You really talked to him." "I know," Max laughed, his heart soaring. He could feel the freedom washing over him. The festival shrank back into existence around him. "Now it's time to show the world who I really am." With renewed vigor, he raised his camera once more, ready to embrace this new chapter. He stepped back into the vibrancy of the crowd, eager to immortalize moments with each click, hoping to portray not just the joy he witnessed, but the transformation unfolding within him. But with every shot taken, Max understood the journey would not only be about proving himself to his father but also liberating the layers of identity he had built, a balance of tradition and autonomy. The music swelled, and he felt the rhythm of his purpose harmonizing with the pulse of life around him. Every shutter click echoed not just a world of stories waiting to be told, but a celebration of the man he was becoming. And for the first time, he didn't feel trapped by legacy. Instead, he cracked open the door to a future alive with possibility, ready to embrace what lay ahead, both in art and in the tangled, beautiful threads of family. "Let us do this," he exclaimed to Jake, the laughter spilling over into the moment as hope burst through the darkness like a sunrise. Max stepped forward, eager to capture the beauty of life, his life. And as he did, he whispered a silent promise to himself, to navigate this journey authentically, to become the person he had always wanted to be. This was his unfolding, a testament that in every moment of creation, in every click of the camera, there was heart and vision colliding into something infinitely more powerful than he had ever known before. Would he make it? Only time would tell. But for now, he was free. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss out on exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us spread more amazing content. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear from you. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.